Section 2.1 to 2.3, we're going to talk about adding and subtracting real numbers. But before we do that, let's talk about what a real number is. A real number has a bunch of different subcategories. A real number can be a rational number, an integer, or a whole number. So first I want to tell you what a rational number is. A rational number is any number that can be written as a fraction or decimal that terminates or repeats. So examples of rational numbers are going to be any fractions, whatever, it doesn't matter. 3/4, 5/2, and then any decimal that terminates or repeats. So we could have 5.1 or 4.777 repeating. Any fraction or decimal that terminates or repeats. So then an integer are positive and negative whole numbers. So like -4. -3, -1. But if it's positive, it's also a whole number. So the positive ones are going to belong to the whole number category. So anything that you can count, like 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. And 0 is also included in the whole numbers. So all of these are types of real numbers: rational, integers, whole numbers. The other thing before we get to adding and subtracting, we're going to talk about absolute value and what that means. The absolute value is called the distance number, and this is why. If we have some number a out in the middle of nowhere, here we have -a, and here's our 0. The absolute value is the distance from a to 0 on both sides. So, if we're looking at, for example, if a is -2/3, then the absolute value of a, the absolute value sign are these two vertical bars. That means find the absolute value. And all you have to do is make the number positive. So the absolute value of a, if a is -2/3, would be +2/3. And again, this is a distance. If -2/3 is over here and 0 was here, the distance to 0 would be 2/3. That's why we make it positive. So if a is 3.2 and you want to find the absolute value, you just make it positive, and this number is already positive, so it doesn't even change. So pretty simple. Absolute value, make your number positive. That's all you have to do. Alright, now let's talking about adding real numbers. There are two different rules if you have the same sign or different signs, and I'll explain them both to you. So first let's add if you have numbers with the same sign. So if we're adding -4 plus -5, what you're going to do is you're going to add the absolute values. So you're going to add the positive, so add 4 plus 5, which gives you 9. And then put the sign of the two numbers back on. The same sign, these two both have negative signs, so you're just going to make it negative. So -4 plus -5 is -9. If you have trouble with that rule, you can also always use a number line. If this is -4 on our number line, and we have to add 5 more negative, so we're going to go 5 more in the negative direction. We're at -4, go 5 more in the negative direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we get -9. So you can always use the number line to help you. If we have different signs, there's a little bit of a different rule. You're going to subtract the little number from the big number. So 6 is bigger than 3, so we do 6 minus 3, which gives us 3. And then take the sign of the bigger number. Well, 6 is our bigger number and it's positive, so our answer is going to be +3. Again, you can always use a number line. So if we're at -3, and we need to go 6 in the positive direction, Here we're at negative 3, we go 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the positive direction, and we get to 3. So before you do these ones in your notes, I want to do 2 more examples with you that have decimals. These have the same sign, so our rule is we're going to add the absolute values, and I'm going to write the steps over here just because I haven't written those down yet. If we have the same sign, add the absolute values, or the positive values, and then give your answer the same sign of the added numbers. So for example, negative 4.7 plus negative 3.1. Add the absolute values, so add 4.7 and 3.1. 4.7 plus 3.1, if you can't do it in your head, you can write it like this. So you get 7.8. And then give the sign of the numbers added. Well, both of these were negative before we added them, so your answer is negative 7.8. Over here we have different signs, and the rules for different signs: subtract the lesser absolute value from the greater. And then when you get an answer, take the sign of the bigger number. So 7.4 plus a negative 3.2. Subtract the lesser from the larger absolute value. So we subtract these, we get 4.2. And then take the sign of the larger number, where our larger one was positive, so our answer is going to be positive 4.2. Now go ahead and do these 2 examples in your notes. Same sign over here, D is different signs. The second thing we're going to talk about is subtracting real numbers. And when we're subtracting, all we're going to do is make them addition problems and then follow the same rules we just did. So in subtracting, the key is to add the opposite. We have negative 12 minus 19. We're going to change this to addition. In other words, add the opposite second number. So instead of negative 12 minus 19, I'm going to write negative 12 plus negative 19. Add the opposite. So this says the same thing that this does. And now we're going to use the same rules we just did. We have numbers with the same sign. So we're going to add the absolute values and then keep the sign. So add 12 plus 19, which gives us 31, and then keep the sign negative. Over here, we have 18 minus negative 17. Add the opposite. So instead of 18 minus negative 17, we're going to have 18 plus the opposite. This is negative, so we're going to make it positive. And you already know the rule that if you see 2 negatives right next to each other, they become positive. Same rule, just said in a different way. So then we add 18 and 17, and we get 35. So I want you to go ahead and do these 2 in your notes. Negative 3 minus 13, and 39 minus a negative 4.